1954, our family traveled for 4 days by car to our new home in Miami Beach, Florida. Now, some people crossed the Atlantic, some crossed the Negev. The Feinberg family crossed the sands of Florida to a new home because my father left the fur business. Maybe he knew what was coming. And bought a hotel on Miami Beach. And now there were 3 children living in the penthouse of his new business venture. Until my mother was satisfied, our new home was appropriately remodeled. My older sister became a bat mitzvah in 1955 in a Reform synagogue. But it didn't last long. Soon after that simcha, my father joined the stately conservative Temple Emmanuel on South Beach, built after and modeled after the great synagogue of Algiers. And this was my spiritual home until I was married in 1971. There were many, many temples in Miami Beach, as you can attest from history. And what was interesting, there was never a temple that could fit their whole congregation on the High Holy Days. So our temple used to cross the street into the Miami Beach City Auditorium. Temple Israel, downtown Miami, used to bring everybody to the big convention center. I guess whoever has the most members gets the bigger building. The unfortunate part, as it is here too, my friends in Florida all tell me about how the congregations have shrunk, and they save money because they don't have to rent these big venues to have high holy days. They actually have them in their own synagogues, which is nice. After marrying Steve Sussman, we lived in Hollywood, Florida, and when Jennifer was born, we were pioneers and moved to the city of Coral Springs, Florida in North Lauderdale. Take note, no synagogue. So what do? We got together with our new friends and we started one. It is still in existence today, and in fact, Sandy Tankis, who everybody knows, her parents were members there years ago when they lived in that area. 1975 brought us back to Hollywood and the birth of Lori. And don't worry, we joined a temple there too, Temple Soleil in Hollywood. But New York was calling Steve, so we picked up in 1978 on Jennifer's 5th birthday and moved to Tarrytown, New York, and a short-term membership at Temple Beth Abraham. We had hoped Jen would start nursery school there, but there was none. There is now. You know why. Who would have thought no nursery school in a young community? And on to Roslyn in 1979, and we chose Temple Sinai of Roslyn because a very well-known family member, you may remember him, Herb Sheldon, the host of Wonderama, had been a member here. He was my father-in-law's oldest brother. I hope that this was the last move, and it was for now. The family truly became embedded in this community and in all the aspects of Temple life. Living in Roslyn also brought me back to my roots in Greenport. My grandmother Rachel's younger brother, the historian, finished his education, married his sweetheart Ethel, and returned to Greenport to work in his father's clothing store on Main Street. His parents had returned to Brooklyn, and my uncle and aunt were very special to me. They used to come to Florida for most of the winter, and I think my parents had like months off of being parents because they were busy being parents. Besides loving their Judaism and being a part of their community, they loved being with their relatives, and I loved being with them. You know, with every Jewish journey comes sad parts and good parts. In 1940, they adopted a daughter, Marcia, who became, quote unquote, Greenport's baby. Everybody wanted to take care of Marcia. It was Marcia. Unfortunately, Marcia died suddenly at the age of 40. And my dear Uncle Abe said Kaddish for her at Minyan for 11 months. And then I am convinced on that last day of Kaddish, he died of a broken heart. But don't gasp in sadness. My aunt was a loving, compassionate, and endearing woman who used her grief to be a one-woman caring committee. I think much of her attitude and example helped me be a great member of the caring community here, and some of my strength to deal with my own medical issues. She became the pillar of Greenport's Jewish community living there, and establishing herself in the synagogue on every holiday and every service front row, first seat. As I noted before, many of our visits took place right there in the sanctuary. Although my marriage aged out at 19 years, the affiliation of Temple Sinai has lasted for 37. My daughters, Jen and Lori's Jewish roots are here, but they have established their own connection to our heritage. Jen at the Reformed Temple of Forest Hills, and her connection for, I can't count the years, at Camp Eisner Camp in Great Barrington, Massachusetts, where she now supervises campers. Lori graduated from the University of Delaware, never came home, stayed in Delaware, married, and chose to affiliate with a Reconstructionist synagogue when my grandchildren were ready for religious home. Telling a good story was always a skill my father had, and I could have embellished this journey with every extra appropriate story. But now I just have to tie up a few ends lest you all starve. And be exhausted in keeping up with the spiritual tour of many temples. And Ethel taught me what it meant to be strong in life as she nurtured an entire village on her own with more energy than a teenager. She had a 100th birthday that can't be matched. Will you know 200 people to invite to your 100th birthday? With 175 of them showing up from everywhere. And I have to tell you, plenty of rabbis and rebbitzin that had been in that temple as they all showed up at her 100th. I met relatives I never heard of. She eventually moved to an assisted living facility in New Jersey to be near her granddaughter, and she had a 105th birthday in March of 2013, and unfortunately died in August of that year.